How's it going, everybody? It's Part of the Family. We're back with another FPL live stream, and today we're going to be doing the preview deadline stream all in one for blank game week 27. It is a double game week for this week, but it is also a blank game week for this week as well. Liverpool, Arsenal, and Chelsea all do not play in this game week, but Burnley have a double game week, and Leicester have a single game week in this one, as they originally were going to be blanking as well, but they have their fixture versus Burnley rearranged for this one. So it's going to be very, very fun, very interesting. A lot of free hits are going to be on here as well. For this game week, I'm going to do a free hit draft in this as well if I was doing my free hit team, so we'll take a look at that. And we'll also take a look at all the stuff we normally would on the deadline stream, like the goals imminent table, captaincy, captaincy against, all that sort of stuff. Any questions you have in the chat, we'll check those out as well. And yeah, game week 26 was a monster game week if you triple captain Salah, 84 points, which would have put him at a captaincy of 28 points. He just edged out Mane, because he picked up 3 bonus in the first game and 2 in the second one, although they did get the same number of actual returns. Salah would have ended up with just edging it, though. But I believe we tipped Mane as one of our differentials, but we'll check that out in a bit. But JB Cullen, how are you, man? Do I do YouTube? I do YouTube as well. I post these VODs over on YouTube. The videos have been a little bit slower around this time just because of various different things going on, as well as the holidays and that sort of stuff, but I've been putting up a couple of different videos out here and there, looking to try to do more and more. It's just some IRL stuff as well as Final Fantasy 14, because the raid just came out not too long ago, so I've been having to sort some things out for that. So we were going to also take a look at our predictions as well. Apologies for those that looked at that saw the interruption there. Randomly the webcam just decided I just wanted to not work. But what did work this week was the triple captaincy, and my team scored very well, and we'll take a look at that as well as future transfer plans and all normal stuff that we normally do, predictions, differentials, and the such. So yeah, before we do that, let's talk about Fantasy Football Scout. So, Fantasy Football Scout, fantastic members area. We have a bunch of different things in there. We'll see a few of those tables that I've also created for me personally that I like to use to look at various different data and that sort of stuff. So we'll take a look at that. So yeah, make sure to check all of that out as well. But there's a bunch of different things you can check out in the members area as well. Heat maps. You can have the Rate My Team tool. You can have different members articles, videos, all that sort of stuff. So make sure to check it out. Link is in the About section if you're watching this on Twitch. If you're watching it over on YouTube, it's in the description in every video. So make sure to check that out as well. So now, finally, with that interruption, now that we've got that out of the way, let's see how the team did. So, that is the team up on the screen. I put the points after the -8 that was taken. So we had 156, but -8 is 148. So because it was too, like the text was too wide. So I didn't want to rearrange it or move it. So pardon me. I just put the full score there with the hit taken. So we got 156 -8 is 148, which was good enough for a green arrow. We basically halved our rank from like around 5,000-ish to 2450. So we're doing real well. We're doing really well. We're inside the top 5K now, doing great. We had a few standouts this week. So very fortunate on a couple of them, I would say, for Van Dijk and Smith Rowe specifically. Smith Rowe's goal was pretty fortunate, as was Van Dijk's. Van Dijk's came at the very end of the game. Smith Rowe's probably the keeper could have saved, but Dennis could have easily scored 2. Rafinha getting a goal was nice. Ait-Nouri could have had a clean sheet potentially in both games had Wolves just played what they had been doing before. Salah could have had even more, which is crazy to think about. Weghorst was doing well, and for first time this week we actually benched our lowest scoring players, which is nice. So I mean, by rule, that kind of is how it works. But Bowen and Cancelo would have been the 2 that I would have potentially swapped around, and they end up getting the same number of points anyway, because Spurs turned into prime Barcelona. versus City. So if we run through the team, those who had double or even triple Arsenal defense didn't work out. Arsenal conceding, but getting points in both games, though. Ramsdale with the 4 points, better than De Gea's 2, so I'll take it. Aitnuri's 2 points, again, very disappointing. Conceded 2 in the second game. Could have potentially got a return in both games as well. Trent with just the 6 points. Not really too worried about that, considering he was over 100% effective ownership. But Van Dijk getting a goal, 14 points, him getting a clean sheet as well. I think he was only 2 points behind Robertson, so we saved a little bit of value, but we got slightly less points, which is perfectly fine by me. Rafinha, 7 points. Happy about that. Expect him to get not much. Our single game week player is definitely disappointed. Coutinho and Bowen only getting 2 and 1 point between them, so not ideal. Smith Rowe got himself a goal. Didn't play at all in the second game. Got 11 points in the first one, which is quite nice. Not sure what Saka ended up getting. Let me actually double check that. What did Saka end up getting? He ended up getting the same number of points, so we got cover there, as it were. So we did quite well. We kind of were very fortunate because Saka got booked in the second fixture. So yeah, Dennis getting himself a goal. Could have scored 2 in the first game. Didn't look like he was gonna ever score versus the Blue White Palace played in the second fixture. Weghorst was an absolute beast. And they did well to hold off Spurs. Was in around the first goal, as it were. Not in exactly the right place, but Ben Mee bundling it over the line to get Spurs another defeat of 4 in 5 games, I think it is. And Weghorst looks to be quite good. It's probably going to be my captain this coming week as well. But the main talking point was Salah triple captainers. 28 points times 3 gets you 84 points. On a normal game week, that would have been fantastic for your entire team. But with accompanied with Van Dijk, Smith Rowe, Weghorst, and Dennis, we did very, very well in a very fortunate game week. So 148 points with the -8 taken. We did 4 transfers. It was to bring in Coutinho. That was for the future double. We brought in Weghorst for Edouard. I think Edouard only got like 1 point or something like that. So Weghorst made up the hit and then some. We brought Van Dijk in for a non-playing Johnson. And we also brought in... who else did we bring in? We brought Salah back in, obviously, for Jota, so who didn't feature. So yeah, did really, really well there. Now, let's take a look at how our predictions were. So, predictions. There's the tweets. Let me see if I can maneuver it along a little bit. Something like that. That'll do. If I go to the screen here, let me just maneuver it down a little bit. So it's more or less in line with the fixtures or thereabouts. Close enough. So, if you don't know how our predictions work, basically the way we do it is if you get the exact score right, so had I predicted West Ham and Newcastle to be a 1-1, I would get 3 points. If I get the result right, so had I predicted a draw in this instance, I would have gotten 1 point. And had I predicted anything else, I would get 0 points. So, let's see how we did. If I remember last time, we haven't been doing well. Yeah, we have 3 points and 4 points, which isn't great. Over the last 2 game weeks, so hopefully with more games we can get more points than 4. So let's see how we did. West Ham versus Newcastle. I predicted a 2-1 in favor of West Ham. Not off on the right start here. We predicted 2-1, ended up being 1-1, so nothing doing there. Arsenal predicted 2-0 over Brentford, ended up being 2-1, so we got the result right, so we still get 1 point. Aston Villa versus Watford. I predicted a 2-0 Aston Villa win. They just didn't show up in Watford. Dennis with the 1 goal in that one. 1-0. Brighton Burnley was definitely not a draw. Burnley convincingly beat Brighton, so we got that wrong as well. Chelsea 2-1 over Palace. They beat them by the same margin, so we get just the 1 point there. We predicted a a 2-1 when it was a 1-0. Liverpool was 3-1 over Norwich. Salah, Mane, and Diaz all getting 1 goal in that one. And that was when both fullbacks were rested in Trent and Robertson. So I was really hoping for a Van Dijk clean sheet there in that one. But got the result right, so the 1 point there. So we're only 1 point away from matching what we did last week. Southampton versus Everton, predicted a 1-1. Southampton convincing 2-0 over Everton. No problems for them there. So we got that one wrong. As well as the City Spurs game. We predicted 2-0 in that one. City should be quite comfortable. Spurs were in dreadful form, and they came in and they absolutely bossed the game. Yeah, Kane just had an absolute masterpiece in that one. And then for the Sunday fixtures, United Leeds, I predicted 3-1. It was still the same margin, so we get 1 point there with my 3-1 prediction when it was 4-2 in favor of Manchester United. I predicted 1-0 for Wolves over Leicester. It was actually 2-1. Wolves managed to get the win in that one, so we still get 1 point for that. Spurs versus Burnley, very disappointing result after beating Man City. A Ben Mee goal for one of the rearranged fixtures saw Burnley with a massive 3 points. Burnley picking up 6 points in their last 2 games, looking better and better. Our Burnley, so we didn't get much there. Crystal Palace over Watford 2-0, ended up being 4-1, so we get the 1 point there. Liverpool 3-0 over Leeds. Liverpool decided we'll double that and go 6-0. So we get the 1 point there. And Wolves disappointing again. We're leading the game 1-0. We're stalling time. Then they conceded a late goal and then conceded a late goal, which was very disappointing for fantasy owners in that one. The only player that was really involved in a positive light was Lacazette in that one. The other 2 goals, Lacazette got the assist on an own goal from Jose Sa, so very disappointing for owners there. As well as Nketiah to Pepe, which nobody has either of those FPL-wise. And then it was Hwang who scored the Wolves goal unassisted. So, yeah, it was a very annoying FPL game for that one. So we got that one wrong there as well. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points with a few extra fixtures in there. So, again, not ideal in this one. So hopefully we can still improve then. Because our predictions haven't been great. But if our FPL team's doing better than our predictions, then I think that's perfectly fine. But yeah, I think Liverpool definitely back in the hunt as well because of the fact that City lost to Spurs. You have the likes of Burnley who are now picking up wins. They look very threatening now. They look potentially back to their old selves. Could be very, very interesting in the run-in for Burnley. Newcastle, which started off the week with what looked to be, potentially a fantastic point away to West Ham. And then you look at the likes of Watford picked up 3 points. Burnley picked up 3 points. Norwich was winning versus Liverpool, ultimately not getting the win there. Then Burnley got a win again. So Burnley have a couple games in hand. They could still potentially get, wriggle their way out of that. Leeds could get sucked into it. Everton, another disappointing result, could get sucked into it, into the relegation battle. So could be very, very interesting. Could be very, very interesting. So let's take a look at the predictions and fixtures for this week. Less fixtures this week because it is a blank game week. So these are the fixtures that we have. The deadline is tomorrow, by the way. So if you're watching this over on YouTube, it's probably only a few hours before the deadline. It is a 6:30 p.m. UK time deadline. So I'm 4 hours behind that. That's why it says 14:30. With the first game being Southampton versus Norwich. Then we have a plethora of fixtures on the Saturday. We got Leeds Spurs as the early kickoff, or the lunchtime kickoff in the UK at 12:30. The 3 o'clocks, we got Brentford Newcastle, Brighton and Aston Villa. That could be a very interesting one there. Crystal Palace versus Burnley, Man United versus Watford, and Everton versus Man City. Everton could get absolutely embarrassed in that one, because typically when City lose, they don't like losing, so they might have to sort that one out and end up basically kind of turning Everton over quite easily. Then Sunday, West Ham and Wolves, teams that are slightly slipping down now, have to regain some form. And then the rearranged fixture on Tuesday for Burnley and Leicester will be played on that one at a 7:45 kickoff on March 1st as we make our way into the spring months. So some interesting fixtures for the week. Man United Watford. Man United need to get 3 points. They had a decent enough result considering the circumstances in midweek for Champions League. City are going to want to bounce back. Spurs, I mean, Conte's telling the board basically, you might need to sack me. Am I doing what I should be doing? You know, it's a bit weird. And Burnley might be able to take advantage of a Leicester team that's not been performing this season. So a lot of different things to see here. And a lot of managers are going to be on free hit. So we'll take a look at that a little bit later on in the show. But we are going to look at the predictions. So Southampton versus Norwich. If you all don't know, I do predictions and we put them over on the Fantasy Football Community website. I'm just going to bring them up on the side for myself here so I can remember exactly what I did. Let me see if I can find them. Where did I put them? There we go. And I forgot to mention our clean sheet and differential picks. We ended up getting 3 out of 5 right. So we got Tarkowski in defense, who we picked. Mane, 3 goals and assists. Lacazette got at least 1 assist. I can't remember what he got in the first game. But we got 3 out of 5 because our goalkeeper and clean sheet was Ramsdale and Wolves. So we got those 2 wrong on that one. Okay, so so Fantasy Football Community is the website. Fantasy Football Community. FantasyFootballCommunity.com. They post one every week. Follow them over on Twitter as well. They post basically our predictions and a bunch of others that do predictions as well. So make sure to check that out. I'll just post that. I usually retweet or post something about it when they post their article. That should be out probably tomorrow, I would think. So yeah, we shall see for those. But my predictions, pretty straightforward for the first one. Southampton and Norwich. Southampton are in good form. Should be pretty straightforward. Should be a 2-0 in favor of Southampton. I think that they should be good enough to definitely beat Norwich, even Norwich scoring a goal versus Liverpool doesn't really change too much, to be honest. I still think that they should be able to beat them quite comfortably. I expect maybe Broja to be on the score sheet, maybe Che Adams in this one, maybe a James Ward-Prowse involvement of some kind, as he's been continually putting him in the back of the net from anywhere. Basically, that's a set piece. So be on the lookout for those guys in this one. I would say probably Broja would be be one of my strikers if I was on a free hit. If I was going to look at, there's a little bit of a preview there. Leeds and Spurs on the lunchtime fixture in the UK. I think Leeds haven't, they've been really hit by injuries. They might get sucked down into a relegation battle. Spurs have just been bad. The teams that they should beat, they don't. The teams that they should beat, they do. And Leeds is one of the teams that they should absolutely beat. Will they do that? I'm not too sure in this one. But I have given them the benefit of the doubt. And I actually have gone with a Spurs win. I've gone 2-1 in favor of Spurs. Brentford versus Newcastle. This one, if you had asked me this fixture at the beginning of the season, I would have said, Brentford's got this, no problem. But since which, Newcastle have sacked Steve Bruce. They've brought in Eddie Howe. They've made quite a few signings in the window. And they've been doing quite well for themselves. So I think Newcastle are probably going to win this one. I'm going to go for a 2-1 in favor of Newcastle. Not something that I probably would have said in the first few games of the season. Brighton versus Aston Villa. I think both teams here are, very good on the ball. Aston Villa have been struggling to score goals recently with Danny Ings and Watkins just not finding their feet. Brighton tend to have similar problems with their forward men. They play beautiful football, but just can't put it in the back of the net. So with this one, I kind of just went with a kind of sitting on the fence here, and I went with a 1-1. If I had to choose a side, I would probably say maybe it probably favors Aston Villa because slightly more quality, but I think 1-1 is probably about right. Crystal Palace versus Burnley. Now, Burnley have been doing quite well, and I think Palace seem to drop points randomly against teams after they have a very good win, and they have had a very good win versus Watford, and I think this one is also going to be a 1-1. Burnley have been playing good recently, and I think Palace, they, like I said, they tend to just randomly drop points against teams that they should probably beat at times after coming off like a decent win, and it just seems like, at least that's from my perspective. I could be totally wrong on that, but I just feel like this is just one of those games where Palace, maybe they score a goal, but they don't really get firing on all cylinders like they did versus Watford. Most of it comes down to, kind of individual brilliance from the likes of Zaha to create something if Edouard's not on the pitch. Just he's fallen completely out of favor for whatever reason. And I think Burnley are just going to cause them a bit of problems. I think Crystal Palace's defense is very young. Sean Dyche's been in the league for years. He knows how to set up a team to win some set pieces, and maybe Tarkowski gets on the score sheet this week instead of Ben Mee. So we'll see on that one. Man United versus Watford. On paper, should be quite an easy win for Manchester United. So I've gone with a 2-0. I think they should be keeping a clean sheet here. Watford don't concede very many goals. They've only conceded 16 goals, which I think is like, it's either 6th or 7th best in the league defensively away from home, which is really, really weird. And United have had their own struggles at home at times this season as well. But I still think that United's quality, they should be able to get the job done. I think Alanga comes back into the team instead of Rashford from midweek. I think McTominay, since he was ill, probably comes straight back into the team. It's going to be interesting to see who plays at center back and at right back, because Lindelof played as an auxiliary right back in midweek. So we'll see. But I think United, too much quality. Watford are almost certain to go down. I think they basically get the win here, and it should be no troubles at all. But with Manchester United, you just never know. Everton versus Manchester City. I believe I predicted a 3-0, and I have. I just think Everton might be in a bit of trouble. I don't think Lampard is the manager you wanted to bring in to get the club to be not in a relegation battle. I think if they were in a decent enough position, maybe he pushes on. But, yeah, I think it's going to be difficult for them. I think it really is. Man City, coming off a loss, is basically like trying to poke a lion with a stick and hoping that he doesn't bite your head off. Man City might just do that. And I think it's a fantastic week for free hitters as well. So I'm quite happy with the 2 Man City players that I do have. Wish I could have a third one in there as well. We'll have to see how that one is looking. West Ham versus Wolves. I've gone with a 1-1 as well. I think that both teams defensively haven't been as good in recent weeks. And I think that they both don't want to have the ball. They both want to counter each other. West Ham at home, maybe they get, a little bit galvanized, because if Wolves go down, they tend to struggle a little bit. They don't typically score very many goals. If they do go ahead, they kind of just park the bus. West Ham, I think, are good enough quality-wise to break teams down, but it kind of relies mainly on Bowen. But Wolves, if they get the early goal, maybe it proves to be a bit too difficult for West Ham. I'm going with a 1-1 here. I think both teams don't score very many goals, so I don't think it's going to be a goal fest. So I've just gone with the draw. And then Burnley versus Leicester. I think Burnley picks up another point here versus Leicester. I think they probably score one off a set piece versus Leicester, who are dreadful at defensively, keeping the ball out of the back of the net on set pieces. Defensive set pieces are abysmal for Leicester. I think they're like bottom 3 in the league, if not bottom, to be honest, for stopping set pieces from going directly into their net. So I think Burnley at home could be quite a good value in this one. Maybe another Ben Mee goal or Tarkowski, something like that, would probably prove some value in this one. as well. So if you were gonna choose whether you wanted like a Nick Pope or a defender in this one, I would probably say a defender, mainly for that Leicester fixture, and even Crystal Palace to an extent, because both defenses, Crystal Palace isn't the greatest at defending set pieces, and Leicester are definitely not great at defending set pieces. Crystal Palace mainly because of their backline's a bit young, and Leicester's just because it's just bad, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, that's why I've gone with that. But Burnley could easily win both these games, and then they're looking really good. Like if I just bring up the table off to the side here. So right now we got the top four as Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, and United. United are on 46 points, Arsenal are on 45, but they have 2 games in hand, so just 1 point behind with 2 games in hand. They also have a better goal difference by 1 than Manchester United, although I believe Arsenal's 2 games in hand are against like Liverpool and Chelsea. Oh no, fixtures. Spurs and Chelsea. So I mean, one of those could be 3 points. Chelsea aren't in the greatest of form, but Spurs definitely aren't in good form. But again, it would be a big game, and Spurs might be up for it. It's the Northumberland derby. Wolves have 1 less game played than United, but they're 6 points behind, so the most they can be is 43. And West Ham, same number of games played as Manchester United, 4 points behind. So it's pretty much coming down to the likes of Arsenal versus United at the moment. If Spurs win their 2 games in hand, one of those is versus Arsenal, they would be on 45 points, so still not enough to catch United. However, United still have to play the likes of Spurs. They still have to play City. They still have to play Liverpool. So it's all to play for. The top 4 race could be interesting, as well as the title race. Liverpool +4 goal difference ahead of Manchester City with 26 games played and only 3 points behind. If you look at their form as well, 5 games, 5 wins. So they've been doing quite well. City been a little bit up and down. 3 wins, 1 draw, and a loss. City have not been as ideal as what they were on that really, really good run where they won like 13 games in a row. But City could easily go on another 13-game win streak to end the season as well. All they have to do is not lose versus Liverpool when they play them, because they still have to play them again. And then just basically win out from there. Although, they still have the Manchester derby, and they still have some other games that still need to be played, and I don't think that City are going to have any double game weeks FPL wise, except for in game week 36, because they're most likely going to go through to the FA Cup latter rounds, which would move their game week 30 fixture into 36. Just to briefly touch on that while we're thinking of it. These fixtures here, the only ones that are guaranteed so far in this are these 3. Wolves versus Leeds, Aston Villa versus Arsenal, Leicester versus Brentford. If any one of these teams is going through to the latter stages of the FA Cup, which we'll know before game week 28 or after game week 28, somewhere around game week 28. We will know that by then, and we will be able to know which ones are going in here. I think the only one that realistically can be in here now is Burnley versus Southampton, and I think that's if Southampton lose to West Ham. So that would leave just 4 fixtures. There is potential for a Chelsea fixture to get thrown in there somewhere, but again, I'm not the one looking at the fixtures. Look at Ben Krellin on Twitter. He'll be able to work that sort of stuff out. As well as a couple others. Lego Mane has his fixture table, as well as there's one other person that I'm forgetting on Twitter that looks at the fixtures as well. But usually Ben Krellin retweets their stuff as well. So if you start with Ben, then you can go from there. In terms of clean sheet and differential picks this week, let's do those while we're here, because we can do those as well. Clean sheet and differential picks. Well, I think personally, I don't think Everton are scoring versus Manchester City, so I'm going to go with Man City. I'm going to back the double clean sheet that I have currently for Man City. I don't think Everton are going to score. If they can't score versus Southampton, what makes you say that they're going to score versus Manchester City? I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're struggling at the moment. I think at home, if Man City get an early goal, the crowd's going to get on their back. Their heads are going to drop, and it's not going to be ideal, I don't think. Goalkeeper for this week, I think you can go with Fraser Forster from Southampton. I don't know what his ownership and whatnot is. He's 4.4 million, which is actually very, very cheap. He also has a double game week coming up soon as well, so something to think about. And his fixtures are fantastic. So maybe he is one to watch out for in game week 28, maybe, if you're looking for that. I mean, for the rest of the season, Southampton's fixtures are quite good. They might finish, maybe if they really, really perform, they might get a European place potentially if they go on a nice spree. But yeah, it could be very interesting. But yeah, 1% owned, Fraser Forster. So Southampton, 1% owned. Could be quite the differential there in goal. Not often you get that either. In defense, let's see. What defenders could we potentially pick out here? If I had to choose a defender this week, that would be a differential. Maybe Harry Maguire, potentially. Harry Maguire could be a differential this week. At home to Watford, 5.3%. Got to be less than 5%, though. So we can't pick him. Victor Lindelof has been playing well, but I think if we play our first choice, Lindelof's unfortunately not going to play. What about Ben Mee? What's Ben Mee's ownership? 2.8%. Yeah, just scored a goal. Let's go for Ben Mee. Ben Mee, Burnley's captain, 2.8%, has a double game week. Lovely, lovely stuff. And then has some decent fixtures up until game week 30, and is also playing in game week 30. So if you need someone in the blank in 30, he's quite good. And his fixtures for the rest of the season are quite good, and they still have 2 games to play as well. So Ben Mee could be quite the option there in defense. In midfield. Who are we going to go for? I think Jadon Sancho. I think Jadon Sancho has been fantastic for Manchester United. He doesn't have very many FPL returns at the moment, just 2 goals, 3 assists. But he's really starting to catch fire now. Jadon Sancho at 3.2% could be a fantastic way into the United attack on the wild card. I think him and Fernandes as the double up could be very good. I'll put a team together and see kind of how it works out. But Jadon Sancho could be a very good differential pick this week. And forwards this week. What's Weghorst's ownership? 5.8%. I think, we said not below 5%, but it's so low. I mean, he's your captain this week. 5.8%. Wout a game week. I'm sorry that I said that. And I put it in the title as well. But Weghorst could be absolutely crucial this week. He's going to be my captain. I think he's the best captaincy shout this week. I don't think you can rely on the Spurs, guys, because of what they did versus Burnley. Yeah, Burnley are way more defensive than Leeds. But, I mean, Leeds aren't that bad either. If Leeds go ahead early, maybe Spurs just they can't score, or Leeds score more, but who knows? We'll see. Leeds are definitely open and available to be scored against, but I think Weghorst is the best captain this week, and if not them, then maybe Ben Mee or somebody like that. So we shall see. But yeah, that is our predictions, clean sheet, and differential picks. So we are gonna post that as well. Let me just copy this over so that you can all see it ready to go. Blank game week 27. And we'll put the picture of Mr. Wout Weghorst. And there we go. So we'll minimize that. Don't need this anymore. And we can go to our current team. And that is the current team on the screen. So we got David De Gea in goal. We have Cancelo, Diaz, Aitnuri, Rafinha, Coutinho, Bowen, Smith Rowe, who's blanking because we have triple Liverpool blanking as well. Watkins, Dennis, and Weghorst with the captaincy. Now, I do have a bit of an issue. So Smith Rowe is somebody I'm going to want to get rid of at some point. I don't want to get rid of my Liverpool players. I don't want to get rid of my City players at the moment. And Aitnuri has a double coming up soon as well. So, I personally think that I don't think I should make a transfer because I have 11 fixtures, one of which is a double game week player in that sense. I have 11 fixtures, 2 of which are on the double game week player. So I have 10 players playing, but I have 11 game week fixtures. The only players that I would say that I'm missing is a United attacker like Bruno and a Spurs attacker like Kane. That's probably what I'm missing out on. But if Leeds do well versus Spurs and Spurs continue to underperform, although I think they won't, then I could get burnt by that. Or I could also get burnt by United. Now, Bowen, I think, is going to be quite crucial in this one. I think Coutinho and Watkins, they might want to redeem themselves there. Double City defense, I think a lot of managers are going to go for City attackers, which I might do if I was on a free hit. So I don't think I need to make a transfer. And I think with the potential of a Chelsea game being added into game week 28, that could cause, or even 29, that could cause a stir up there. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. Originally, what I was going to do is I was going to get rid of Smith Rowe for Kulusevski for Spurs. He would come straight in, and that would be a fixture there. Then the following week, I would get rid of Bowen for Martinelli, and then I would also have gotten rid of... there was somebody else I was supposed to get rid of, and I can't remember who it was. Let me check my... I always take a picture of them and put them on my phone. Who would I have gotten rid of? It would have been Weghorst for Broha. And then I would have gotten Coutinho out for Son. So it would have looked like this. So if you don't know this website, it's fpl.team. Fantastic website. So I would have done... So De Gea would have been in goal. We would have Cancelo. We would have Diaz. We would have Watkins. Weghorst would be the captain. We would do Smith Rowe out for Kulusevski. We'd have 11 players. We'd have a double game of captain. Be great. So we'd still get a little bit on the Spurs action, but we wouldn't have Kane or Son, and we wouldn't have Bruno or a Man City midfielder. Not the end of the world, but hopefully our other players can do something in that one. So we might take a slight red in that, maybe a bigger red if they go absolutely nuts, but if Weghorst is the best captain, which I think he could be, then we're looking good. Then the following week, we have Ramsdale comes back in for De Gea versus Watford. We bring back Trent in for Cancelo. We bring back Van Dijk in for Diaz because they play Man United. We put Salah back in for Weghorst. We would then get rid of Weghorst. We would bring in Broja or Broja. Or Broja, I don't know how you pronounce it. We would bring him in, and then we would also get rid of Bowen as well for Gabriel Martinelli, who seems to be in favor at the moment, and we would put him in over Kulusevski just because he has a better fixture versus a weaker team versus Watford, who are weaker away from home. We would captain probably Coutinho in this one, and we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 double game weekers all on this part of the team. And we'd have 3.8 million in the bank. So then the following game week, we could just do something very simple. It would be Coutinho out, who has a bad fixture versus West Ham, and we would bring in Son, and we'd have 2 Spurs players. We would have Watkins drop to the bench, and we would have Dennis drop to the bench. Aitnuri would also drop to the bench, and we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 double game weekers, and our single game weekers would be 2 Man City players. We'd have Rafinha at home to Norwich, and we'd have Broja, which would look quite good. And then we'd free hit in the blank game week where we would only have like 4 or 5 players. That was the initial plan. If Chelsea gets thrown into the mix, it kind of throws things off a little bit. So if I just refresh this here, if I go on to the next week, what I could potentially do is if I know that Chelsea is going to have, if they have a double game week, I can get rid of Diaz. I can bring in the likes of Reece James. I could then get rid of potentially Smith Rowe or somebody like that to bring in another Chelsea asset. If Mason Mount is back, he's 7.5 million, so I'd be just short of that. But the team would look something like it'd be something like this. And then it would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 double game weekers. Cancelo would probably play over Weghorst. I'm not too sure. And if I got rid of Weghorst for a hit for Broja, we would have him as well, and then we can go from there. So many different things that could potentially happen there. But that's all speculation at the moment. This is the current team. Now, let's take a look at if we were to do a free hit team, because I think this is very interesting. So, if I was going to do a free hit team, first off, with the goalkeepers, I think it would be very straightforward. I'm just going to remove all the players, actually, just so we have a blank team here. Be pretty straightforward. Obviously, I can put some of them back. But dead certs in the team. So first off, Nick Pope. Nick Pope, I mean, he's got a double game week. He's the only double game week goalkeeper. You put him in there. I mean, there's no reason not to. You might as well. And then for other goalkeepers, you just pick the cheapest goalkeeper you can find, basically. Because you're probably going to want triple Burnley. And it would be this Arsenal goalkeeper. Arthur Onkonkwo, I think is how you pronounce it. I mean, Arsenal has a blank, but he's 3.9 million. So you put him in there. Yeah, I mean, you can also put in this guy, Remy Matthews, as well. He's 3.9. So that would be your goalkeeper sorted. In defense, I think you have a Burnley defender of some kind. That would probably be Ben Mee. I'll just put him in there just for argument's sake. In defense, Cancelo. I think it's not really a debate here. Cancelo definitely goes in. We already have him in our team, so he's going to be cheaper. As for additional defenders, I don't think Spurs is the greatest fixture. Defense-wise, I think Leeds will score. So I wouldn't go there. Southampton, maybe, as a defense. Could be an option, I would say. That would be something you could potentially be tempted with just because they play in Norwich. Even double city defense could be an option, but maybe you go for more of the attackers. A United defender, let's say a Harry Maguire, who's almost certainly going to play. I would say he's probably an option there. And then you just go for cheaper defenders. So I'll just put in Walker Peters, and I'll just restore Aït-Nouri, but they're probably going to be on the bench anyway. In midfield, I think you go for Raheem Sterling. He's been in fantastic form. He's been playing a good bit of minutes. For Spurs, didn't do too much, but I think he could be quite good. So I think Sterling's probably one of the players you go for. And then probably De Bruyne could be the other one, maybe. In Man City's midfield, I think that could be a potential double up there as well. Bruno Fernandes is a definite certain in my eyes versus Watford at home. And then potentially Jadon Sancho could be the option. Another cheaper alternative option there as well. I think versus Leeds, you got to think counter-attack, and in transition, I think Heung-min Son is the perfect player for that. So if I was going to pick one specifically for this fixture, I would say Heung-min Son. But if you're going to go with them, I think you got to go with both of them, with Kane and Son. So that also brings up the question, you're out of money here. You can't really do that. Weghorst would be my striker, would be my other striker, and I think Broja would be my third striker as well. I'd play all three of these guys if I had them. I'd play 3 at the back, which means I could only play 4 in midfield. So someone has to get the chopping block here. I think you have to pick between Man City and Man United, basically, for this one. I think you have to side with Man City just because you expect them to bounce back. And Everton's defense is just dreadful. It actually is. And if they get an early goal, it's just curtains, right? I think De Bruyne is probably the one you go for, personally. Just because he almost certainly is going to play. He got his rest versus Norwich. I think he's fine. He should be fine in that one. So I probably drop Sterling just to down his price a little bit. Sancho, I drop him down as well. So maybe we have to rearrange some stuff because we can't have this many premiums in the team, especially if we have Kane. Can I work something out here? So Bowen has a fixture versus Wolves who've been leaking goals, and I think Bowen actually is a very good option here as a cheap midfielder. Who else would be good in these fixtures as well? Yeah, I think you probably have to have triple City. Maybe you go City defense instead. So maybe you go like Laporte as an example. And then you drop Walker Peters down to like, let's just do like a Brandon Williams or something, who's 3.9. Get us as much money as possible. Still only at 2.7, so we have to drop somebody down somewhere. So maybe we go De Bruyne, we take him out, we go Sterling instead. And then we could find money somewhere else. Who in midfield would be a cheap midfielder? That would just be like someone that we could put as a dummy. Maybe just Basuma or something. Basuma at 4.4, and then we need 0.4 million. 0.4 million. Is Kane potentially worth it? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe we go, we change this out, so we go, maybe we can go for somebody a bit different. Up front, or we just go for like a dud. I can't get Richardson. He's a 4.4 forward. Who else would be a 4.5 forward? Gelhardt's 4.6, but fine. We could put him in there, which could mean we could upgrade Basuma to De Bruyne, and then we would downgrade Laporte to Maguire. Perfect. We could do something like that, and we would play 3-5-2. And we'd have triple City with Cancelo, Sterling, and De Bruyne. We'd have triple Burnley with Pope, me, and Weghorst, and Son and Fernandes in there. So it's the midfield mainly that my own personal team would be potentially worried about. You don't have Kane in this one, so it is a bit of a interesting one there. But you have to make sacrifices somewhere. I think after the Man City game, a lot of managers would have dropped Fernandes, not gone with United and just gone with Son and Kane. But with their performance versus Burnley, maybe you don't need both of them. Maybe just the one is probably fine. I think Son is going to be the counter-attacking guy, so he would be my preference in that one. I thought Kane would do better against Burnley. And Son would do better versus City, although Son did get returns versus City. Kane ended up being the shining light in that one, basically setting up everything. But I think if there's going to be a player versus Leeds that's going to do well, it's going to be Son on the transition. But I could probably go with something like this. And that's probably going to be something similar to what some of the template teams are looking at overall. I think locked players, Weghorst definitely, Cancelo definitely, Fernandes definitely, Ben Mee definitely, Nick Pope definitely, a City mid of some kind of big price point, whether it be De Bruyne or Sterling, I think is definite as well. And then everything else is up in the air, I think. I think Broja's got to be in there for just a cheap forward. But Kane and Son, I think you could have to pick one. I think Man City's fixture's better versus Everton than City versus Leeds. I mean, Leeds have been conceding goals, yes, but Man City are by and far the better team, and they're playing against the Everton defense, who is not nearly as good as what Frank Lampard would like it to be. And actually, I'm interested to see, because I have the captaincy gains table, so this is a table in the Fantasy Football Scout members area. If we look at the last 4 game weeks, Leeds is top, so they are worst, but Spurs aren't necessarily the greatest. If we look at captaincy options, so if we look at Kane, we'll go to Son. I'm going the wrong way. Where is Hyunmin Son? So we got Son. We got Sterling. We got De Bruyne. Weghorst. I'll put Foden in there. Fernandes. Ronaldo. Probably Bowen. Be another captaincy shout as well. And I think I have everyone. So if we look at the captaincy options here, only show selected players, expected goal involvement. Raheem Sterling is by and far top, 3.52. Yeah. So Everton's defense is pretty bad for XG conceded, goals conceded. So the XG conceded is bad, but they've conceded 10 goals. Leeds just concede goals for fun. But Spurs' defense has just been bad recently, and they've conceded the same number of goals as Everton. Everton's only conceded 6 goals. Sorry, I was looking at Watford's. But Everton's defense has been bad. I mean, they conceded 2 versus Southampton. City could easily score that as well. So yeah, could be a bit interesting. Who is free hitting this week? There are a lot of managers free hitting this week, because a lot of managers who wildcarded last week, they're free hitting this week because they set up their team for 28 and 29 and 30. So I just wanted to do a free hit team. But I'm not free hitting. I have 11 fixtures, 10 players with those fixtures though. I was going to bring in Kulusevski for Smith Rowe. Excuse me. But I don't think I'm going to do that now. I think I'm perfectly content. The only players that I would fear would be if Kane and Son go mad, I'm obviously not going to have the greatest week against the Leeds defense, which is poor. Having a City midfielder probably isn't going to... Not having a City midfielder is probably bad. It's going to be quite poor. And then maybe Bruno Fernandes. So it's all in the attacking options. But if Spurs have another stinker, Fernandes doesn't get involved in the points, and the City game is low scoring, and Cancelo and Diaz get a clean sheet, I'm looking golden. So Smith Rowe has frustrating great stats, but randomly rotated. Yeah, I mean, it seems like when Arsenal is fully fit, Saka, Odegaard, Martinelli, and Lacazette are the front 4 favored. Which is weird because Pepe and Smith Rowe seem to be just really, really good every time they play. Pepe way less so than Smith Rowe in terms of play time. But yeah, it is a bit of a weird one. So yeah, I might just see how it goes. He was Smith Rowe was ill for the game today. I'm not sure what that illness was, whether it was having to isolate or just a cold or something. But yeah, very, very frustrating, actually. I've had Smith Rowe for a while now. But yeah, that's all the free hit. I would go with something like that, probably. Let's see, how much value do I have on Smith Rowe? He's 5.5. Yeah, I've gained like 0.2, 0.3. He was way higher than that before as well. But going with 2 free transfers into game week 28 could prove to be quite good. Because when are the FA Cup fixtures? That is the question. That's what I need to find out. When are the FA Cup fixtures? FA Cup. So the FA Cup fixtures are on March 1st and 2nd. So we got Petersburg versus Man City, Crystal Palace versus Stoke, Middlesbrough versus Tottenham on the Tuesday, and then we have Luton Town versus Chelsea, Southampton versus West Ham, Norwich versus Liverpool, Everton and Boreham Wood, and Nottingham Forest versus Huddersfield randomly on the Monday of the following week. But basically all the Premier League teams we will know by the end of Thursday. So Thursday would be so on the March 3rd, and the deadline would be on March 5th. So we would know what the blanks are for 30, which is actually very good. So we would basically, if you want Burnley and Southampton players to go into that game week, you want West Ham to beat Southampton for that one. So, and that's the only other fixture I believe that can go in there from the FA Cup postponements. Again, there could be another Chelsea fixture kind of just thrown in there. So we will have to see. So hopefully they announce that beforehand. Because I think Leicester. When do Leicester City? Leicester City have gone through in the Conference League, so they're fine. So maybe they rearrange something with Leicester versus Chelsea. I think they have a fixture against each other. So we'll see on them. What are your free hit weeks lined up for the rest of the season if I have any? Well, I have 1 free hit left. So I think if you have anywhere from 1 to 2 free hits, if you have 1 or 2 free hits, your free hit weeks the ones that you're looking at is 27, 28, 30, 36, and 38 probably. So the reason I say 27 is because it's a blank game week this week. A lot of managers, like myself, have triple Liverpool, Arsenal assets, that sort of stuff. They blank, as well as Chelsea. So that could be a good week to do it. The reason I say 28, because 28 is a very good double game week for players that you might not necessarily want to have long term, like Aston Villa players, like Wolves players, that sort of stuff, and you can get in on them on that point from then on out. The reason I didn't say 29, because most managers have Arsenal and Liverpool assets at the moment, and they have a double in that one. And those are the only real players that I think you probably want as double game week players as well. Spurs also double there as well. So maybe something like that could be your transfers for that. But I don't think you need a free hit in 29. Obviously, it is team dependent. Game week 30, because there's going to be significant blanks at the moment. The only fixtures that we have in that one that are confirmed is Wolves versus Leeds, Aston Villa versus Arsenal, and Leicester versus Brentford. The only other one that could go in there is Southampton versus Burnley, and that is if West Ham were to beat Southampton in the FA Cup in midweek before game week 28's deadline. They could throw a Chelsea fixture in there that needs to be made up, because Chelsea have a lot of fixtures to be made up because of the ones that they missed for having to postpone the game due to breakouts within the Chelsea cap, as well as their Club World Cup activities. So that is something to keep an eye on as well, which is why having 2 free transfers for 28 could be even more valuable. So we will see on that one. For game week 36, that could be a good week to free hit because of the fact that it is a massive double game week and you can literally have the best team that you could possibly want on paper for that game week. If you didn't plan on using the bench booster, you've already used it, or you've already used the triple captain or whatever it may be. As long as you don't want to use the triple captain or the bench boost in that week, most managers are wildcarding in 35, bench boosting in 36. So, again, that is something to also consider. Just fixing something there. There we go. And then in game week 38, it's the last game week of the season. Managers often, if they have nothing to play for, they might test out a new player. If the game between the two teams is like a dead rubber game. So let's say on the last day of the season, hypothetically, Southampton's playing Leeds. And Leeds somehow are nowhere near the relegation battle, and Southampton are like 11th or something. They might just put out some youngsters or something, have a little bit of fun with the game. Or you might want a free hit because City have already won the title by that time. Top 4 is already sewn up, and City's in the Champions League final. In which case, you might want to bring in the City players that you know are they might be playing. Let's say City's playing Watford at home on the final day of the season. Maybe they want to play some players that don't necessarily normally play or are vying for a potential spot in the starting line of the Champions League. So maybe you want to bring in the likes of a Sterling or a Mahrez or someone that's potentially a rotation risk that you can have just as a one-off week for that one. So that's where the free hit could be useful at the very end of the season. It can also heavily backfire because you have to get it right in that 1 week as well. But for me personally, I used my first free hit back a while back. It wasn't great, but I had to because I only had like 4 players or something playing in 1 week when there was a bunch of postponements. And I got pretty fortunate with that for the most part in terms of all the postponements. I'm going to be using my next free hit and my second final free hit in game week 30. I'm going to look to wildcard in 35, bench boost in 36, and I triple captain in double game week 26 gone. So that's how I'm going to be doing it. So hopefully that explanation was not too long, but as concise as it could be. But that's how I see the free hit playing out. I think if you wildcard in 26, most likely you have 2 free hits. So I would say you're free hitting in 27. You're pretty well set up for 28, 29, 30. So you can probably use your free hit in probably somewhere outside of game week 36 maybe. Yeah, maybe. That's how I would see it. Because you're going to bench boost in 36. If you can get the transfers for it. Unless you bench boosted. Unless you're bench boosting in 28, which is a possibility. So some managers are wildcarding 26. Free hitting 27. Bench boost 28. Triple captain 29. And then free hitting in 36. Which is another strat as well. Which is definitely viable as well. I don't think it's personally optimal for my team, and I don't think it's the most optimal, because I think with the biggest game week of the season, you want to have either your bench boost or your triple captain available. You want to have ideally 11 plus double game weekers to choose from. So yeah, and I think things are still going to be tight enough to where teams are going to have to play. They're going to have to play for points. Especially for top 4, could be very interesting. City and Liverpool could go right down to the wire like it did the season that City won it with 98 points to Liverpool's 97. They're going to have to play their best teams as well. And if one of them get knocked out of the Champions League and the league is the only thing that they have to play for, then they're definitely going to play their full-strength team. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. So I would say pay attention to that. If we look at, as we mentioned, the players for captaincy, Weghorst is down the bottom, but he has a double game week, so something very interesting. I don't have Raheem Sterling, I don't have Kane, I don't have Foden, I don't have Ronaldo, I don't have Fernandes, I don't have Son, and I don't have De Bruyne, so I'm going to captain Weghorst because he's the only other one I have on this list. For the goals imminent table, if we look at it, Cristiano Ronaldo is in there as well. We got Weghorst is in there, Saka, Maddison, Lacazette, Foden. For those that are interested for him. Dennis and Coutinho, who I have in my team. Broja, who I expect to be playing versus Norwich. I think he's a good option there. some players that might be scoring sometime soon. And if we look at the players that are the worst on that list, it's Lacazette, Ronaldo, Maddison, Dennis, and Foden are the bottom 5 that could be scoring sometime soon. Lacazette should have scored an extra 2.52 goals, which is crazy. Mind you, he did technically score in this game that was played versus Wolves today, but it was an own goal because Jose saw it was actually off target. He kind of scuffed it a little bit, but it is what it is. But yeah, that's the team as it stands now. Again, I don't think I'm going to be making any transfers this week. I think it's going to be beneficial if I get a gray arrow this week, or even a small red. As long as I stay within inside the top 5K, I'll be very happy. Do I think that's likely? Probably not. I knew I was going to be somewhat weak this week, but if I can go to next week with 2 free transfers, knowing what the situation is for game week 30, knowing if a Chelsea fixture is going to get thrown into game week 28 or 29, that information could prove to be better longer term while taking the slight red arrow this week, because you're going to get red arrows throughout the season. It's going to happen. It's very rare that you're going to have green arrows every week. Or at least long periods of green arrows, but we had a very nice week last week. The triple captaincy definitely paid off. Weghorst in his transfer alone paid off for the -8 and then some. I think Edward ended up with like 1 or 2 points, and he ended up with like 14 or something crazy. So he paid it off instantly, so we're very happy about that. Triple captaincy chip was worth 28 points. Absolutely monstrous. We knew that it was going to be something like that with the fixtures at hand. It could have been even more for Salah as well, which is the craziest thing about it. But yeah, the players I think that you should probably have that are mandatory this week. I think Cancelo. I think Weghorst. A Burnley defender is probably good. I probably won't be able to bring in a Burnley defender because I want to keep my Liverpool assets that I have with Van Dijk, Trent, and Salah. I think for Man United, I think Fernandes is probably the best one to go for, and I think you should have Triple City in some capacity, whether it be Cancelo plus a defender and De Bruyne or Sterling, or Cancelo plus Sterling and De Bruyne, Foden and Sterling, something like that. And I think me personally, I would only go with Son out of the midfielders. That's just me personally. But Leeds could really get carved open, but we'll have to wait and see. I still think the best captain this week is Weghorst because he has a double game week. And they play versus Palace and Leicester, who are very bad at stopping set pieces. So he could be involved because he is also a unit. He is very tall. I think he's 6'7" or something. But he's also actually decently quick for a guy his size. So yeah, that's my team for this week. I'll always post it over on Twitter as we normally do. But before we sign off here, let's talk about Fantasy Football Scout one more time. So, Fantasy Football Scout, fantastic membership that they have on offer. You saw some of the tables that we used here. We've been using those throughout the season. We've been using them in videos throughout this season as well. That any of them that have like numbers or infographic tables or all that sort of stuff. So make sure to check them out. They have a bunch of different tools that you didn't see on display as well. I'm telling you, they're great. And yeah, very, very useful. So make sure to check them out. Link is in the About section. If you're watching this over on YouTube, it's in the description below. So make sure to check that out as well. So now let's move over to the big screen. So thank you all for joining me for the preview deadline all-in-one kind of mishmash stream. I'm going to post this VOD as soon as I can. And yeah, hopefully the blank game week doesn't hurt me too much. I expect a red arrow this week of some capacity. Not having Kane, not having Son, not having Bruno, not having De Bruyne or Sterling. But I think I have enough there to do well enough. I have, De Gea, who's a decent enough goalkeeper. He could easily outscore Pope if Pope just is a 1-1, gets no saves in both games as I predicted, and De Gea gets a clean sheet. He beats Pope. I have 2 out of 3 Man City players. I would probably go with double City defense. It's probably a little bit safer, to be honest. I have an interesting differential with Coutinho and Watkins, and I think my 28 and 29 are set up perfectly, and I have a free hit in 30. So after that, my next 3 game weeks are looking to be quite good. So I'm happy with that. I don't have to do any wacky transfers. And I still have the wild card and the bench boost intact for the 35-36 double whammy. And I'll have information on game week 28 or 29 or any Chelsea fixtures that potentially get rearranged as well. So we'll keep an eye out for those as and when they do come in. Because Chelsea only have like 4 spare game weeks and they have 5 fixtures to rearrange or something like that. So Chelsea could have a triple game week. That's very possible. But I'll leave that up to like the Ben Krellin and those on Twitter. But thank you all for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow, share, all that good stuff. And until the next one, take care.